2021 is the 25th anniversary of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, the last comprehensive update to Internet regulation. The Internet has experienced more than a few updates since 1996, but Internet regulations have not. That's why Facebook supports updated regulations on key issues like preventing election interference, protecting people's privacy, reforming Section 230, and more. See Facebook's progress on key issues and what's next at about.fb.com/regulations.
Is it time for a new heating and cooling system? Turn to the experts at Griffith Energy Services and Carrier today and get 0% financing for 18 months on a new heating and cooling system. Get the comfort you deserve from Griffith Energy Services and Carrier. Visit griffithenergyservices.com today for this and other exclusive offers. That's griffithenergyservices.com. License number MDHVACR 01-2278.
Griffith Energy Services. Doggone dependable.
That's where Medicare supplement.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by CartKing.com. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage right now could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application, from large heated and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee stations, coffee kiosks, coffee carts. CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the designs on the website. Visit www.cart-king.com or just give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you, get a good deal. Okay, I'm Ed Opperman, president of Opperman Investigations, a digital forensic consulting. You can find a link to my work at emailrevealer.com. You can also find a copy of my book there. Get an autographed copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. Asset searches, locates, adoption investigations, emailrevealer.com. You can't go wrong. Okay, hey, good news. We have back with us one of the most popular guests I think we've ever had. His name is Patrick. He goes by the name Patrick. But he's the guy behind the A Program to Kill YouTube channel, which is LOL Field and Love. LOL Field and Love. But just put in there a Program to Kill Satanic Cover-Up, and you're going to come up with the most fascinating video documentary series I think you've ever seen in your life. It's going to change your life, as a matter of fact, if you really pay attention closely. It's about 20 hours long, so make yourself, sit down, cook yourself a meal first and order some pizzas before you get started, because this thing, you can spend about a week watching all this stuff. But some of the greatest content out there, it's based on Dave McGowan's work mostly, but also Patrick's done a lot of his own excellent research. Patrick, are you there?
I'm here, Ed. Thank you for having me again.
How many hours you got on there?
I think at least 20, 30 hours, yeah. It's now 114 parts, so it's really a lot, yeah.
It's no joke, and it's excellent work. And I realized, too, last time when I watched through the whole thing before our last interview, people should go back and look at that previous interview, too, because we go over a lot of content. One of the reasons I enjoy it so much is because there's a lot of written content in it, too, that really captures your attention. So, Patrick, tell the audience about yourself. Who are you, and what are you up to? What are you, I was going to say, who's behind you? But tell us, who is Patrick? Tell us about yourself.
Well, my first name is Patrick. I'm now 29 years old. I'm from Europe. At the age of 15, I became fascinated by the topic of serial killers. I did a lot of reading, watched a lot of documentaries, movies. somewhat communicating with other people, going to the library, things like that. I think years later, it was also the early stage of YouTube, so there was only more information available. So I became sort of an expert on the whole subject. Read really a lot of biographies of a lot of different serial killers. So I had a lot of information, and just by sheer chance, I found the book Programmed to Kill, The Politics of Serial Murder by author Dave McGowan in a bookstore. Took it home with me, and all the unanswered questions I had with all those serial killers were almost completely filled in with all those conspiracy and military intelligence agencies, the occult, Satanism, biker gangs, things of that nature, and all those topics I think we're going to discuss, which are all connected with those serial killers.
Yeah, and also it's not covered in your series, but off the air we were talking about how it also seems to be this pattern that exists, also seems to exist with the pedophile, the child abuse cases, the satanic ritual abuse cases of children, especially the ones that took place, organized ones in preschools, like the McMartin case and the Presidio and the West Point case and all that kind of stuff. You've noticed that as well?
Yeah, of course. It's a lot of organized crime, sex rings, also drug trafficking, snuff film networks. So yeah, it's the whole, always the same ritual, same pattern.
Yeah, snuff films and child pornography seems to be another pattern in all this. That all of these serial killers, they all have videotapes. You know, I even stumbled across. I hate to be getting off the topic already, but Charles Ng and that case up there in Northern California. Yeah, I stumbled upon that movie that they made about the hidden tapes. They found the lost tapes. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I even communicated with the director of the movie, and I asked him where he got the information from, and he told me that he had signed contracts to not reveal the sources where he found that material. So pretty fun.
Really? That's fascinating. You know what? Because when I saw that it was all like recreations and stuff like that, but there is some original content in there, but there's mostly recreations. I didn't bother with it because I didn't think it was accurate. So you think that stuff is accurate?
I do think some of it is accurate, yeah. I think, especially if you watch the performance of the actors who's playing Clara Lynn Cricket Ballas, it's really realistic. So maybe there's some truth to it.
Yeah, and Cricket never got arrested, never got convicted, nothing, right?
No. I think there are also somewhat rumors that I couldn't prove, but maybe she's connected with the Process Church of the Final Judgment. But
really?
Haven't been able to find out exactly if it's true, but it's certainly interesting.
Okay. Oh, boy. Okay, so let's get into today's show here. The first thing you wanted to talk about was Ted Bundy. You have some new information?
Yeah, please, yeah. I think most people think Ted Bundy was a lone serial killer, lone nut. And, however, I think Ted Bundy probably has committed some murders on his own. But I do think many of the murders were also being perpetrated by multiple accomplices and also with alternative motives. And it's interesting to note that Seattle investigators initially speculated the possibility of a group of people involved in some sort of occult or magic sect, because the disappearances were during 3-day weekends or at the semester's end, and according to at least one astrologist, when the moon was in a strange configuration with the other planets. So there are some theories that there was some occult satanic connections to that whole case. And there's also a file in the Seattle Police Department called 1004, where all the occult scene and strange events are documented. And I want to ask your listeners, perhaps they can do a Freedom of Information Act, so we can take a closer look to that file, because I'm a European citizen, so I can't make that Freedom of Information Act. But maybe we have some more answers to that whole case.
Yeah, maybe.
There are one interesting tidbit from that file. There's an individual named Thomas Creech, Creech, and he was talking to authorities in his police cell, and he actually said that he witnessed some of the ritualistic slayings of several women in King County by a motorcycle gang of Satan worshippers. and even took the authorities to a house in South King County Jail of South King County, and there was actually found some blood in that house, and also the characters he named did actually exist. So perhaps there's some credence to the allegations that he was saying.
Yeah, and it says here in these notes you sent me over that this police homicide captain Herb Swindler said the room was too small for the kind of hideous ceremonies Creech described. How small could this room be? You could do some pretty serious... In a jail cell, you got some pretty serious stuff. You got 20 guys pile into a jail cell and do some pretty serious damage on a guy. That happens every day in America. How small was this room? They couldn't do this. This is crazy. Okay.
No, but it is interesting because Captain Herb Swindler was one of the only people in the Seattle police force who actually acknowledged and theorized that there was some occult activity in the Ted slayings. So if Mr. Herb Swindler is still alive, we probably should contact them and maybe want to do an interview, because I think he has some really good information.
Yeah, maybe Thomas Creech. Where's he? Is he still in prison, or where's he now?
I don't know. No.
Yeah, we should stay. You know, we should make a list and start looking for these guys. And if we have anybody out there that wants to volunteer and help out with some of these FOIA requests, you know, get in touch with us and we'll put together something here. Now,
yeah, please.
And then what's next down the line here with Ted Bundy?
There's also when the Lake Sammamish State Park murders occurred in July 14, 1974. One of the two victims, the other was Janice Ott, and the last one, Denise Naslund, who was a known drug user. And one eyewitness saw a girl matching a description right off from the park with a biker gang, and she reportedly yelled, "No, I can't, let me off." So that's pretty interesting. So maybe she was being abducted by that motorcycle gang. And if you also saw some old footage that I uploaded in my YouTube series at the state park, Lake Sammamish, you can see many motorcycle gangs in that park. So you have physical documented evidence, video evidence that they were present there.
And you said that this Denise Naslund was also, she would babysit for Ann Rule?
Yeah, that is McGowan's work. Yeah, he found that out, yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating. So then she was one of the victims, and she babysat for Ann Rule, and Ann Rule sat across Bundy at this suicide hotline joint where they were both volunteers. What else can you tell us about Ann Rule that's kind of suspicious?
Well, I have to say that the place that I work, the crisis clinic, to prevent people from committing suicide and other things, McGowan's work actually demonstrated that those kind of enterprises are also infiltrated by cult members, because some people want to commit suicide so they can maybe recruit them, because they have given up all hope on life. So it is a possibility those people are also infiltrating those crisis clinics.
Yeah, that would make sense. And just a good example of that is when Scientology sued the Cult Awareness Network and then took over their operation and ran their phone lines and kept the operation open. So people looking to get out of a cult were calling Scientology to get out of a cult. Hey, now what about... Seattle investigators initially speculated the possibility. What do you got there?
Yeah, I already said that
okay.
At the beginning. Yeah. And maybe you can read that long part about Kenneth Mad Dog McKenna, if you would.
Okay, the part about after murdering several hitchhikers?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, so because of Patrick's second language, he's going to have me read this here. He's sent over some excellent notes. After murdering several hitchhikers during 1973, Bundy believed his own arrest was inevitable, unless he could secure the protection of metaphysical forces. Through his contacts in the pornography underworld, he met Kenneth Mad Dog McKenna, a satanic fourth priest in the Hand of Death cult. Now, that's the same Hand of Death cult that O'Toole talks about?
Correct, yeah.
Fascinating.
Lucas, Poole, and also possibly Dahmer.
Donna, that we talked about just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Okay, A satanic fourth priest in the Hand of Death cult and trafficante crime family. Okay, that's fascinating too. Whom he believes could help him through an organization known as the Process Church, established in 1963. Initially, followers of the cult were offered a choice of deities, including Jehovah and Christ, but progressively the organizers insisted on homage to Satan. McKenna allowed Bundy to visit him at his home in Minnesota, Florida. McKenna was able to cite details and provide evidence from his own criminal history, which convinced Bundy that he could indeed kill with impunity, provided certain guidelines were followed. He offered Bundy a contract to sign, which would enable him to commit murder and to avoid detection as long as he acted as a representative of Satan, and not simply indulge his own desires. A ritual was enacted, with Bundy becoming a practitioner of Satanism. K. McKenna, 1994, PERS Communication. Apparently, Bundy was convinced of the validity of Satanism, and his subsequent behavior was influenced accordingly. The first murder committed by Bundy under satanic contract was of Lynn Ann Healy on February 1st, 1974, in Seattle, Washington. McKenna required a victim involved in communication via the air, Healy being the reader of a ski report on local radio. The terms of the contract required Bundy to retain the clothing of victims for offering before a satanic altar. Okay. Suspected... Oh, keep going?
No, that was it, yeah. But yeah, it is pretty interesting. Many people are disregarding all of Kenneth Mad Dog McKenna's statements, thinking he's a lunatic, but I do think he has some credibility in his confessions. I got this information from an Australian magazine called Fatal Vision, which was released in the 90s, and it has a really lot of interesting information, which only suggests that indeed the serial killers have these satanic and occult connections and are part of a large organization and not just random serial killings.
Now, this guy McKenna, is he still alive? Is he around? What's going on with him?
No, I think he died, but he has a really weird reputation. He's a satanic fourth priest of the Hand of Death, crime families. He was selling snuff movies, child pornography, drug trafficking. He did a lot of weird stuff. So, yeah.
You know, you see people too. This idea of doing these rituals in service to Satan, it will give you power and protection. A lot of these drug gangs, like Noriega, believe that. Carlos Escobar believed that. They had all kinds of elaborate rituals and stuff that they would do when their homes were raided. They found all kinds of stuff. The Matamoros cult believed that as well. So this isn't something that's unique. There's a lot of people that believe this.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that are quite successful at their crimes as well. Okay, this might be a good time to take a little commercial break. You think it's a good spot?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a little commercial break. We'll be right back with more of Patrick. His website is his YouTube channel is Program to Kill Satanic Cover-Up. It's LOL Field and Love. And we'll be right back with more Patrick after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here with Patrick from Europe. He's the guy, the producer and director behind the LOL Field and Love YouTube channel. But it's easy to find if you just Google Program to Kill a Satanic Cover-Up. It's about the 20, 30, 40 hours worth of work. Excellent research. But back to Bundy for 1 second before we move on. Bundy himself said that more people were involved when they were it's on tape. When he was being interrogated about his escape, he says, oh, well, there were more people involved. And also, too, he also describes, when he was talking about how disposing of the bodies, he says, well, some people have their own furnaces and their own crematoriums, and that's the best way to dispose of a body. So he's openly talking about more people being involved in stuff, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Even on audio tape, so on his own words. But I really think that was the kind of connection that he made to cult members, like people who are cult members.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it was part of a larger cult. And do we have anything else besides these notes and stuff that you sent over, but Bundy being involved with others?
Yeah, there's also a suspected serial killer named Stanley M. Burnson. I couldn't find a lot of information on the internet, unfortunately, because I'm from Europe, so everything was shielded off. Only people in America can look up things. But this guy was also heavily affiliated with Satanism, and he bragged about traveling with Ted Bundy when he was escaped from Colorado Aspen.
Really?
So that's pretty interesting, yeah.
Okay, and do we know, but you weren't able to find anything about him? We don't know if he's still alive or what?
No, everything is shielded off from Europe. I can't see anything, no. It's only available in USA.
Right. And people need to understand, too, a lot of times, there's a lot of books about Bundy. There's a million books about Bundy. There's a million documentaries about Bundy, a million of them. And even some of them we've had on this show here, too. But I've also noticed a pattern of false information being put forth in these books and documentaries, that they put them out for the cover story. You know, they're putting out the cover story. So you got to really delve deep. Yeah.
I do love that other podcast that you did with author Kevin Sullivan. I do really respect his work and his all his investigations and all the people he talked with. But yeah, I wish I could talk to him, and maybe we can arrange some other theories about the whole Ted Bundy case. But
I think he would talk to you. I think he would talk to you in a minute. I think he would. I'll put you in touch with him. Kevin Sullivan is a great guy. He's a pastor of a church, and I think he's a legit guy too. You know.
Oh yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so then what do you have about Bundy's lawyer here, John Henry Brown?
Yeah, that's also very interesting. He told recently in an interview that when Bundy was making confessions to him, when he was crying in his cell, he actually said that one of the first people he killed was a 12-year-old boy in the woods when performing some kind of sex game. and Bundy was only 12, 13, or 14 years old. So that's also pretty interesting.
What do you think it is with Bundy that he wouldn't confess to all of this before his execution?
I do think because Bundy wasn't responsible for 36 killings. I think he was responsible on his own for like between 5 or 10 of them, but not 36.
It seems like with a lot of these guys, like Ariel Castro and even Berkowitz to a way, like they're holding back. They hold back until their death. They go to their death with a lot of this information. Do you think it's perhaps they made some kind of a deal with the devil, and they're kind of holding back, and they think, well, the devil's still going to get me in the afterlife if I don't talk about this?
I honestly don't know. That would be speculating. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. So then what do you have here about in April 1987?
Yeah, that's also very interesting. The Associated Press reported that the incarcerated Bundy had corresponding with Kenneth Bianchi, one of the hillside stranglers, who always proclaimed his innocence. Dave Berkovich, who was connected with the Processors of the Final Judgment, a satanic cult. Henry Lee Lucas, who was also associated with the Hand of Death cult, and also Aldous Stool, who was also involved in a cult. So you have all these correspondings with other alleged serial killers who are also in the same criminal enterprises. So you can make your question marks whether we're communicating perhaps about cult influences.
Yeah, interesting too. You said that he was also in contact with John Hinckley Jr.
Yeah.
And John Hinckley Jr. was in touch with Squeaky Fromm from the Manson cult, who also tried to assassinate Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. It was McGowan's research, but it's really unbelievable how all these serial killers are connected, like really directly with each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're on the same pen pal list, right? They're all shadowing. It's like a dating site. They have their own serial killer dating site, which we have that too. We have the dating game killer. We have a Kala there, who's another character.
Yeah, another very weird guy with a weird background, and yeah.
You know, we joke about this, but when you look at this, how could these guys be operating under the radar and get away with this over and over and over again? You or I, we go out, we steal a bicycle, they catch us in an hour. You know what I mean? And these guys are just doing... This one guy we're going to be talking about later on, this Golden State killer, that was doing a murder every week.
Yeah, it is true. It's just really naive to believe, I think, that some of these guys are responsible for, like, 120 plus burglaries, 13 deaths, and over 50 rapes. I mean, one guy, all committed by one guy. That's just truly unbelievable.
Impossible. It's impossible.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Sooner or later, you're gonna mess up. Okay, and then you have Bobby Lewis.
Yeah. Did you know? Do you know the name of Bobby Lewis? He was a Jacksonville, Florida drug dealer and a pimp.
Nope. The first I heard about it, the first time I ever saw a picture of him there drinking a little champagne glass is when you sent it to me today.
Okay, no, that was another guy. That was James Madley from Montreal.
Okay. Bobby Lewis, what's the story with him?
Bobby Lewis was a drug dealer and a pimp, and there is an author who also wrote a book about Ted Bundy. It's entitled The Confessions of a Felon Hook. It's I haven't read it for myself, only a few chapters reading online for free. But he also has pretty astounding theories about Bundy, that he was associated with Bobby Lewis, who extracted confessions out of him, and was actually his best friend on death row. And he also made allegation that Bundy was probably a closet homosexual. So that's also pretty interesting.
That's fascinating. Bobby Lewis, now is he still alive, or they got to him?
I think they got to him, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, and do you know what else? Besides saying that he was a homosexual, what else? Which is interesting too, because you have the other thing about saying he was playing sex games with little boys in the woods. Yeah. What else do you have that Bobby Lewis had to say? That sounds interesting.
Now, also, he was apparently connected with Danny Rawling, the alleged Gainesville Ripper, and he was actually responsible for extracting the confession out of him with police investigators. So that's also pretty weird that you have sort of other people who are in jail who are like sort of handlers who are helping to extract confessions out of serial killers. I can also recall that with alleged Boston Strangler Albert DeSalvo. He was associated with a guy named George Naser, and he was doing the exact same thing which Bobby Lewis was doing with Danny Rawling. So that's also pretty interesting, those connections.
That is interesting. Yeah, it seems like a lot of these guys are informants too, right?
Yeah, that's the better word. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just fascinating. Over and over. You know. Okay, wait a minute. Just Elizabeth Loftus. What do you have there?
Yes, she is an American cognitive psychologist, best known for groundbreaking work on false memories and recovered memories of childhood abuse, sexual abuse. And one of her notable cases are the McMartin preschool case, so that's interesting, O.J. Simpson, Ted Bundy, Michael Jackson, and the trial of Oliver North from Iron Contra. So that's pretty interesting that false memories, okay, sexual abuse, I can relate with that, but false memories in cases like Ted Bundy and Oliver North and McMartin preschool case, that's pretty suspect. I mean, is he manipulating some kind of witnesses or perpetrators with false memories? I mean, that's also pretty suspect.
Do you know what her involvement was with the OJ case?
No, not specifically.
You know, the OJ case is a very strange case, too. There's a lot of people involved with Scientology involved with the OJ case. Marsha Clark was Scientologist. Her ex-husband shot... Her ex-husband, who also caused problems during the trial in fact, he filed a custody case during the trial. He was at a weekly poker game with OJ before the murders, and OJ owed him money. Okay, or the other way around. I think he owed OJ money, and he shot the Scientology pastor that performed Marsha Clark's other wedding. You know, so a ton of, and also too, you know, the limo driver, Park, I think his name was. His mother was the attorney for one of the Manson, one of their appellate attorneys for one of the Manson women. I think it was Van Houten. So there's a million connections in McMartin to Scientology and even peripherally to Process Church people. I had a whole flow chart going on that a while back. Now,
yeah, the best thing I ever read about O.J. Simpson case was a PDF file from author Alex Constantine about O.J. Simpson. And he uncovered the whole drug connections that a lot of key players in the trial were also apparently involved in cocaine trafficking. So that's also pretty interesting.
Absolutely, with Joey Ippolito. And and also too that he was the thing was too is they had a boat ready in Florida for OJ to take off when he was doing that slow speed chase. They had a boat ready for him to go. And I talked to one of the LAPD investigators, Mike Rothmiller.
I'm a cover girl. I'm a cover girl. I'm a cover girl too, because I use CoverGirl Simply Ageless Liquid Foundation.
America's #1 anti-aging foundation brand.
Simply Ageless is skincare and makeup in one.
It instantly reduces the look of wrinkles and even skin tone.
With hyaluronic complex and vitamin C for plump skin and a healthy youthful glow.
So be a cover girl like me.
And me.
And get better skin at any age.
Try Simply Ageless Liquid Foundation.
From easy, breezy, beautiful,
CoverGirl.
I think what flavor of these new Dunkin' Coconut Refreshers you get says a lot about you.
Really? What's it say about me?
Well, you got the refreshing golden peach because you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
Oh, what about me?
The bold purple pomegranate means you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
I take it I got this delicious pink strawberry because I'm vibrant, fun, and positive.
Yeah, it's a simple system, really.
Share the shine. Enjoy a medium Dunkin' Coconut Refresher for $3. Order ahead plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Excludes classic Dunkin' Refreshers.
He said surveillance was pulled off of OJ that day that he escaped and went on that slow speed chase. A lot of bizarre stuff with OJ. You can't get around that. And now this McMartin woman, this Elizabeth Loftus, was involved in that case. I can only imagine. You know what it probably was? It was probably she got involved with that guy Ship, who claimed that OJ didn't want to get polygraphed because he thought he would, he had a dream that he was killing Nicole, all kind of nonsense like that. And which is another interesting thing too, because Schiff was in the car when Nicole's sister got arrested for drunk driving. Just one thing after another with that bunch.
My two theories about O.J. Simpson case, who actually killed Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman, is. Perhaps it is done by Jason Simpson, the son of O.J., I think, or it was a mafia hitman style kind of attack.
Yeah, I interviewed, and I kind of became friendly too with Jeffrey Felix, the OJ's corrections officer, who became friends with OJ up there at Lovelock. And OJ told him that 2 drug dealers went to the house that night to collect money, and OJ didn't pay them, and that then they went to Nicole's, and that's where they slit her throat. And but what our theory is, me and Jeffrey, was that OJ followed them back and ran around in the blood, and then took off. But OJ, it's turning into like the JFK assassination. There's way too many conflicting stories and details. I think we'll never get to the bottom of that. And OJ's alive to talk, so.
Yep.
Now, what do you think, Oliver North? What do you think she would have to do with Oliver North?
No, I have no idea.
Fascinating. Yeah.
No. But it is very interesting, yeah. If there are indeed false memories implanted in that whole testimony, it's.
Yeah, and Oliver North, you got the NSC, the National Security Council, which is all those gangsters in the White House that did the Watergate burglary, and all that stuff, and a CIA drug smuggling, Iran-Contra, and then the good old Elizabeth Loftus, who comes out of McMartin Preschool, just happens to be working with them. It's, it's all a club. It's all a big fun club.
Let's switch to another case. Jeffrey Dahmer. Could you please read about the Usenet News Group rumor?
Okay, Jeffrey Dahmer. The Usenet News Group, Alt Tasteless, was founded in 1989. And seeing as Jeff was arrested in 1991, it is possible that in the same time that he owned the laptop, he could have learned enough about computers and Usenet groups that he found and joined Alt Tasteless and contributed content. Alt Tasteless users who have been part of the group since its inception claim that they saw posts from a J. Dahmer at net.core.wisconsin.edu, sometimes listed as com.com, posting recipes using human meat, specifically the bicep of a boy, prior to his arrest.
I think that's very interesting. I think it is, of course, a rumor. We can't verify it, but I think it's probably it could be accurate.
Well, we can check this email address and see if it traces back to Dahmer. But the thing is, too, I can tell you, when I first got on the computer, right around that same time, right around 89, if you typed something in, you were searching for something, Usenet was one of the first things that came up. And that's how I met Alex Constantine on Usenet, because he was on there in alt pedophilia and alt SRA abuse and alt Michael Aquino and all that kind of stuff, and alt McMartin talking. And alt OJ, Pro J, and No J they used to have. You're either Pro J or No J. They had alt groups. So it was really easy to stumble on Usenet back in those days, and very common also, too, for people to go to the colleges and use the computers at the colleges, which would make sense as well, even if you weren't a student there. Because back in those days, they didn't have all these school shootings. You could just walk onto the college campus and walk into their library.
Interesting side note, I can remember in the Geraldo Rivera episode, Now It Can Be Told, about the Jeffrey Dahmer case. And the last intended victim, Tracy Edwards, was interviewed in that segment. And he actually said that when he was at Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, Jeffrey Dahmer showed him a photo album. And these are his words. He said he claimed he saw pictures of children with big bites taken out of them. I think that's really fascinating, because I think only 2 victims were 14 or 15 years of age of Dahmer. So how can he set boys, children, plural? Like Dahmer had maybe contacts with other people. They were exchanging photographs, or he was in fact killing other young children, and police never investigated or never found any body parts in that apartment. But they did have some kind of physical photographs.
This book photograph have kind of evidence?
No, according to McGowan's investigations, they conveniently destroyed one of the photo albums.
Yeah, so this potential victim, no reason to lie, no reason to make this up. It's not like she's got a case or anything, it's not working for the prosecution. And she describes this book, and then the book disappears. And then also, too, you got inside Dahmer's apartment video cameras mounted on the wall. No tapes of those. Those tapes are gone, too, as well. No one knows what's going on with those. Supposedly, they were fake to trick people to come in and say that he was a movie producer.
Yeah, I read in the FBI files that indeed there was one fake camera, but there was also another one, and that one was real. So that's also pretty interesting. There were two cameras.
Right, and again, the theory is that these snuff films and these photographs and stuff like that are being sold and traded across the world.
Yeah. I think in an interview with Detective Peter Kennedy, he also stated in an interview that he couldn't believe those photos got out, because he said his theory was someone must have copies of those pictures, because they shouldn't be let out.
Which pictures?
The Polaroid pictures of Jeffrey Dahmer. If you type in Jeffrey Dahmer Polaroid pictures, you see all those snuff pictures.
Oh, really? I don't think I've ever seen those. Okay.
No, you don't have to see that. It's really atrocious.
Okay, then I'll avoid it then. Okay. Let me see over here. Okay, I guess the next one is Gain.
Yeah, that's also a very fascinating case, because I think everyone knows Ed Gein. There are two motion pictures based on his life, The Size of the Lambs and Psycho from Alfred Hitchcock. Everybody knows, I think, Ed Gein almost, from Plainfield, Wisconsin. He was convicted for 2 murders. He did grave diggings, robbings between 1947 and 1952. And in 1954, Ed committed the first murder he admits to, of Mary Hogan. She was the owner and operator of a local tavern, and she was shot and her head was possibly cut off at the scene. And at the scene, the police found a large pool of blood, but no drag marks. So therefore, Mary Hogan had been carried from the bar. And after Ed Gein had been cut, the police realized he was way too small to carry the large stature of Mary Hogan from the scene. So many people believed even then that he probably had an accomplice for the murders and grave robbings. So I think that's really interesting. And the second victim was Bernice Worden. And I've read that some people have said she had connections with the mob, and others claimed she had been a celebrated Chicago madam and had bought the business with her ill-gotten gains. And her father, Frank Canover, had been part owner of the hardware store she later ran. And she had married his business partner, Leon Worden. And Worden's was one of the oldest and most successful businesses in Plainfield. So I think if we're going to speculate about the possible motive why exactly those victims were targeted, I think it's perhaps because they had very successful businesses, and perhaps there was some kind of competition in Plainfield. And also, if you have connections with the mob, I don't think it's really a plus point in your life.
That's very interesting. I've never heard about a connection possibly with the Gein murders there, possibly have mob connections. And what about this?
Yeah, it's really, I found the information in the Murder Casebook. It's an English magazine released in the 90s with a lot of pictures and really good source material. So I was also flabbergasted when I read that. So I'm from, whoa, that's really incredible.
And what about this guy Gus, his friend?
Yeah, apparently Gein had a few close friends. One of them was named Gus. And when Gein was arrested, this man became violently mentally ill, and he was committed to a mental hospital, and he died in the hospital a short time later. So many people have suggested that he was one of the accomplices in the murders. And the sexton of the Plainfield Town Cemetery, named Pat Dana, insisted that it was simply not possible for a single man to do what Gein had alleged. So I think that's also pretty interesting, that even the sexton of Plainfield Town Cemetery acknowledged the fact that it wasn't possible that Ed Gein was committing all these atrocious acts on his own.
And he was actually digging up graves and then opening up the coffins and removing body parts?
Yep.
Yeah, that would be impossible for one person, because when they put those coffins in, they got backhoes and stuff. It's not like you see on TV. It's a big operation, man, to go dig up one of those by hand. It would take a week. It would take a week for one guy to dig that up by hand.
If I can make my theory about the Ed Gein case, I think Plainfield, Wisconsin was a very small town. I think the population was only 2,000 or 1,400. And I really think they used the Ed Gein case as a sort of tourist attraction and a lot of financial gain, because people were coming there to see the death house and the truck that Ed Gein was riding in and things of that nature. So it was all for financial gain, I think, for making Plainfield stood out with other villages.
Yeah, and it has the stories. How many movies and books have been written about Ed Gein? It's like probably the number one. Even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I believe, is based on Gein. Like they're all based on Gein. And Gein, when he was questioned, he said that somebody framed him.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That one of the first things he said when Officer Dan Chase asked him about the disappearance of Denise Warden was somebody framed me. So that's really it's almost like John Wayne Gacy. From who else do you have in the station here?
Right, right, yeah. And Gacy, yeah, we can go on about that for hours too. Again, the same kind of stuff: political connections, mafia connections, organized crime connections, claiming other people were involved. It's the same thing over and over every single time, and nothing in the news media ever about these fascinating connections and additional perpetrators.
Yeah, I think Ed Gein was really a loner, and he was living all alone in that huge farm. And I think people just used him. He had some friends, and they were just using that house as a sort of stash, safe house for bodies, for body parts and real bodies. People were disappearing there.
Yeah, which is similar to, again, like you said, the John Wayne Gacy, that it's thought of that. By the way, too, remember, I think we talked about it last time. I was talking to that lawyer. I got to get a hold of him and see if he's ready to talk again, where he represents one of the mothers of John Wayne Gacy's victims. And they did a DNA test on the body, and they've proven that it's not her son, who was that they thought all this time. And they uncovered that neighbor of John Wayne Gacy that's had like 400 or 4,000 pedophile child prostitution in a Rolodex. And the Rolodex, What's the guy's name?
John D. Norman, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Rolodex disappeared. Yeah, the lawyer was supposed to come on a show. I should contact him again, because every time I talk to him, he says, "Oh, no, we're in delicate negotiations here." So it has to be over by now. I can't believe it's not the NAFTA negotiations, Oh, so what do you got here now? Anatoly, the Terminator.
Let's talk about a few Russian cases, because many people are always suggesting that serial killers are kind of a Western phenomenon. But if you don't really do your homework, you can see it's in Australia, it's in Russia, it's everywhere, in South Africa, so it's everywhere. It's in Ukraine. Anatoly Onoprienko, also known as the Terminator. He had 52 victims between 1989 and 1995. And his murders were sort of like a home invasion rampage, where the houses were ransacked and things of that nature. And this guy, when he was convicted or was arrested, he proclaimed that there was a conspiracy against him, that he was part of some kind of experiment. And he claimed that he loved all people, including his victims, stating that he would kill his own son if commanded by the higher powers. He made statements about mental seizures, being spied on, the CIA and Interpol. And there's an interview available on YouTube. I hope there is also some English subtitles, but he makes the claims that there were cosmic forces planned to destroy humanity and replace it with biorobots. So I think that's really interesting, because he made those statements at the early 21st century, so that's 2000, 2001, and if you are really informed by those kind of subjects at that time, I found that really fascinating. It's sort of like, how did Eileen Wuornos also knew about nuke wars in 2019?
Yeah, that is interesting, because he called it biorobots. I guess now today they call it transhumanism. And if you look at stuff, like this Bluetooth thing they stick in your ear, and people have this cell phone in their hand all the time. It does seem to be going that way. I don't think people would reject having these things implanted in their...
Okay, parachutes ready.
Boy, the things I go through to get auto loan rates as low as 0.99% APR for 60 months on new vehicles with PenFed.
You are aware that you don't have to be a military member to save hundreds on your auto loan, aren't you? Anyone can join PenFed.
As someone terrified of heights, I probably should have looked into that.
Probably.
Drop me off at the shore.
PenFed Credit Union. Visit penfed.org/autos or call 1-800-247-5626. Advertised rates available through the PenFed car buying service. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
I'm a cover girl. I'm a cover girl. I'm a cover girl too, because I use CoverGirl Simply Ageless Liquid Foundation.
America's #1 anti-aging foundation brand.
Simply Ageless is skincare and makeup in one.
It instantly reduces the look of wrinkles and even skin tone.
With hyaluronic complex and vitamin C for plump skin and a healthy youthful glow.
So be a cover girl like me.
And me.
And get better skin at any age.
Try Simply Ageless Liquid Foundation.
From easy, breezy, beautiful, CoverGirl.
Ear or in a contact lens in their eye, to make this more convenient that they could obsess on these stupid damn cell phones 24/7, just driving himself crazy. And I'd say something else. Well, if he says he's being spied on by the CIA and Interpol, it wouldn't be beyond imagination for investigative agencies with the capabilities of the CIA and Interpol to track these guys down and know what they're doing and keep an eye on them. Even Arlene Warnes, like you said, too, she said that they knew about her, too, and they let her keep doing it.
Yeah, they actually intervened one of her murderous activities with decoys, with police helicopters, and just took her away.
Yeah, fascinating. And again, too, the cover-up, they make the movies, to give the official story.
Yeah, re-elections in politics, everything.
Right, kind of cover it all up. Okay. What else you got going on in Russia?
It's really interesting that the chief investigator, Miguel Zadiani, believes that there is a religious theme to the last 40 murders. Many took place on religious festivals like Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and Orthodox Christmas Eve. Zadiano says there is no proof that he did follow this pattern, but it's too much of a coincidence. So many of the murders were carried out or around these religious days. So just like McGowan's research pointed out that many of these murders are on religious holidays, on Easter, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, things of that nature. You also have murders in Russia who it's always the same pattern. It's really unbelievable.
And he calls them cosmic forces. But what kind? When I read that at first, I thought he was talking like aliens. What did you interpret that to mean, cosmic forces?
I think cosmic forces are sort of the negative, the demonic presence of humanity on this earth, I think.
And it's interesting, too, how they, you mentioned that all these sacrifices, these murders and these ritual events take place on these holidays and stuff. Even, the space launches, the NASA, when they launch their satellites and their rockets and stuff like that, they're done on specific dates and times during the day that have no explanation, but then there's occult interpretations to it. It's like all these guys know something we don't know,
Yeah, I do really think that there are at those specific days some kind of big energy released, so that's why they use those days. So yeah,
fascinating. And what is your faith? What kind of faith do you have?
I'm an agnostic, so I'm really open-minded and not really steering to one kind of religion. No.
Fascinating. Okay, because I'm a Christian, and now we can both see the same kind of thing. It's just what's going on. Well, what else? It's like it's staring us right in the face. That you'd have to be blind not to see all this. Now, what else is going on in Russia? This Andrea.
Another case. I think many people also know about Andrei Chikatilo. He had 52 victims, the same as Anatoly Onoprienko, between 1978 and 1990. So 12 years of murdering one person, 52 victims, if you're believing that. Many of the victims were found at near the close proximity of military bases. So I think that's pretty interesting. And it has been suggested that Andrei Chikatilo was the scapegoat of a massive organ harvesting operation. being carried out by the KGB. The organs were supposedly be given to Soviet oligarchs or shipped to Israel, where many of Russia's wealthy elite were emigrating to. So I think that's also pretty fascinating that perhaps those children and young boys and young girls were murdered because of their organs.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard the show that I did. It's in the members section with that New Jersey state trooper who wrote the book about Biegenwald, Richard Biegenwald, who was a serial killer on Staten Island and in Tennessee and in southern New Jersey. And I actually met this guy. I met this guy on Staten Island at his mother's house. And he was involved in all kind of bizarre stuff, too. And he even joked around, too, that day. He said, this is where we bury the bodies. And we just thought he was making a stupid joke because he was just a weird guy. But he was waving a shotgun around, too, as a joke. I tell the whole story in the show there. But he was involved in all kind of wacky stuff, too. He had a secret room in his house where he had snakes in there, and he was milking their venom. He was building, he built a little gun inside of a lighter, and one time his friend went to light a cigarette and he shot himself with it by accident. So all this bizarre weaponry and secret rooms and kind of stuff. So I knew his attorney too, Lou Diamond on Staten Island, who was his attorney. And according to this New Jersey state trooper, Lou Diamond told him, and I'm going to interview Lou Diamond in the future, I'm going to get a hold of him as soon as I can, that Biegenwald said, hey, those kids that just... But Biegenwald also had mafia connections. He had organized crime connections, which is how he got Lou Diamond as an attorney, because Lou Diamond's a very expensive attorney. He's no joke. Biegenwald told Lou Diamond, he says, hey, you see those little kids on the milk cartons? He says, I'm responsible for a lot of those little kids because we take their organs and we sell their organs.
Yeah, I remember you told it in the last interview also. Yeah. That's
I did? Okay, all right, sorry. I'm repeating myself in my old age. I'm getting up there, Patrick. It's not.
No, sorry.
I'm not.
But yeah, that's a truly outrageous statement. That's really unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's really creepy too, man. So this is going on now too in the Soviet Union. You're saying here, 52 murders, and this guy might have been connected with the KGB. That's
It's also interesting to note that when Andrei Chikatilo was arrested, they did actually confiscate a legitimate KGB identity card from him.
Oh, brother.
And also there were eyewitnesses, or at least let me say one eyewitness who was patrolling one of the military bases, and he actually witnessed one of the murders, which he said was done by a group of people, and he even picked out some people from a lineup which he identified as one of the murderers, and they just shut them up. They locked them up in a sanitarium just to shut them up. So truly unbelievable.
Yeah, I think if we had more investigators, more researchers taking a look at these Russian cases, we might be getting a little broader picture of what's going on here, because none of these, I've never heard of any of these names you're describing to me at all here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a little commercial break here. We're at the show's half over, man. We're going like lightning through here with our guest, Patrick. You look up on YouTube, what's it called again, is a Program to Kill a Satanic Cover-Up. And you'll find about 30, 40 hours worth of documentary film footage produced by our friend here, Patrick, from Europe. It's LOL Field and Love on YouTube. Some of the best work you'll find on YouTube, but really get ready to change your life. Okay, it's not gonna sit too well with you. We'll be right back after these messages with more of Patrick and Program to Kill a Satanic Cover-Up. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing, and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Show's brought to you by CartKing.com. We're talking today to our friend Patrick from Europe. He only uses his first name because this is touchy work. Okay, you're exposing satanic cults and my biker gangs. Okay, so he goes by the name Patrick. His YouTube channel is LOL Field and Love, and if you could find that more easily by just searching for Program to Kill Satanic Cover-Up. It's a series of 40, 50 videos, excellent work. It will change your life when you sit down and watch this, because it will unreported facts about these serial killings, patterns, fascinating stories and tidbits that are really unnerving when you get into the whole thing. So now, Patrick, we were talking about Russia and how there's it's the same pattern going on over in Russia. What do you have next? The backpack killer?
Yeah, let's go to Australia. You have the case of Ivan Millet, the Australia backpacker killer. He was convicted of 7 murders between 1989 till 1993. Each of the bodies had been deliberately posed face down with their hands behind their backs, covered by a pyramidal frame of sticks and ferns. And this is also, to me, very reminiscent of Gary Ridgway, the Riverman killer. He also did the exact same thing with pyramidal sticks and rocks that he placed in the private parts of his woman victims. So you have a case in USA and a case in Australia where exactly the same rituals were being held. So that's pretty interesting, I think. A juror who convicted Ivan Millet has come forward saying that he had help. So you have a juror who comes forward that there are accomplices, probably. And the nephew of Ivan Millet claims he had evidence of which proves his uncle is innocent. So I really wish they're going to release that evidence soon, or alleged evidence.
You know, that's interesting. I just had Madonna Whalen, who's the mother of Natasha Cornett, who again was a satanic involved in satanic worship, and her victims they were at some rest stop and they spotted this family with a van. They wanted to take their van, and she was actually went down to New Orleans to visit Anne Rice. It's, again, the whole thing. No, Anne Rand. No, Anne Rice. I'm thinking of Anne Rice. And their murders again had that pyramid thing. That they were shot with triangles in formation. The shootings were. And in the motel room the night before, there was bloody rituals in there that involved all kinds of triangles too, as well. So there's another pattern for you.
Interesting.
What else is going on in Australia besides this backpack killer? Is there a pattern going on over there too, as well, with the secret police and intelligence agencies?
Well, I'm in contact with a guy who's from Melbourne, Australia. He also commented on some of your videos online, on your podcast. And he really has some great inside knowledge about the whole government structures in Australia, about the intelligence agencies, police complicity, biker gangs, military, things of that nature, mind control also. So that is really my contact person. But I don't know a lot of things in Australia. I do know the father of Nicole Kidman, who was also accused of being a pedophile in a pedophile ring, the Ninth Circle, I think. And you also have Julian Assange from WikiLeaks. He was growing up in a cult called the Children of the Great White Brotherhood. So you have all those connections. Yeah.
Who is the guest you said you were in touch with? You were talking to?
I don't know if I can say his name. He's from Australia, Melbourne.
Okay. All right, yeah, that whole thing with the Nicole Kidman, we had Fiona Barnett on the show several times. In fact, I gave her a show on Awake Radio. She was hosting a show on there weekly for a while, and I found her story about Nicole Kidman's father to be very, very credible. And if you go to her, I don't know if it's still up there, but man, my God, if you go to her Twitter page, where you see pictures of her family, her parents and her grandparents and stuff like that,
Is it time for a new heating and cooling system? Turn to the experts at Griffith Energy Services and Carrier today and get 0% financing for 18 months on a new heating and cooling system. Get the comfort you deserve from Griffith Energy Services and Carrier. Visit griffitenergyservices.com today for this and other exclusive offers. That's griffitenergyservices.com. License number MDHVACR 01-2278.
Griffith Energy Services. Doggone dependable.
I think what flavor of these new Dunkin' Coconut Refreshers you get says a lot about you.
Really? What's it say about me?
Well, you got the refreshing golden peach because you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
Huh, what about me?
The bold purple pomegranate means you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
I take it I got this delicious pink strawberry because I'm vibrant, fun, and positive.
Yeah, it's a simple system, really.
Share the shine. Enjoy a medium Dunkin' Coconut Refresher for $3. Order ahead plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Excludes classic Dunkin' Refreshers.
There's no doubt that bunch was up to something. If you look at them, man, they're some of the most evil-looking people you've ever seen in your life. They're terrifying when you look at them. So there is
but it is interesting that Nicole Kidman was, of course, appearing in Eyes Wide Shut from Stanley Kubrick, which is exactly a movie about sex cults, things of that nature.
Right, and married to Tom Cruise, again, Scientology, Church of Scientology, which is connected to the Process Church and to all that stuff, man, too, it's
a small world.
Such a small world, right? If only we could all get these guys together for a beer and find out what they're really up to, man. What they've,
more pork scotch, not beer scotch.
Yeah, right. So now you mentioned next the Process Church of the Final Judgment and serial killer connections. What do you got?
Of course, David Berkovich, who was associated with the Process Church. Charles Manson, who was he was called the Eagle the same as Robert E. Grimston, I think. They were one of the same. I've read somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what of course there were two different people, but they had the same mentality and the same perception of world affairs. Let's say that, yeah.
Right. And of course, the Process members went to visit the Manson in church. We have that ICE, the immigration report, the INS report that Maury Terry gave me, where it describes that the Manson women in prison sewing process emblems into their blankets there in church, in the prison, in the jail where they're being held before trial. So the connections between Manson and Process Church go on forever, and again too with the Process Church and Scientology. I actually saw the memo that Hubbard put out saying that the Grimsons were fair game. You can go after them. That they've been ejected from Scientology, and they're fair game to go after them. And Berkowitz, you got to read Maury Terry's Ultimate Evil. If anybody's not convinced about Berkowitz's connection with a satanic cult, in his own words, and it's so methodically and elaborately laid out with names of people, and celebrities too, and Studio 54 and Roy Cohen, and all the connections we've had on the show here. We've had check out Jim Rothstein, the interviews I've done with him. And all the interviews we've done with victims of the Son of Sham shooting, Carl Denaro, who's working on a documentary film right now, too, about the Son of Sam murders, which hopefully I'll be getting involved in. So you can check out on Facebook. Hey, Patrick, are you on Facebook?
I was, but not anymore, no.
Because there's a group on Facebook by many of the Maury Terry. It's the Maury Terry official group. And if anybody wants to join that, just get a hold of me. If you want to join, there's always new information coming out there about the Son of Sam murders and the Process Church cult. Always, and infiltrators come in from the other side, who are so blatantly. I get messages from these characters all the time, man, trying to I guess fool me or trick me or whatever, and trying to befriend me. Very bizarre. And this connection to Ted Bundy, like you said, through that guy.
Mad Dr. Kenna, yeah.
Right, and what about Kevin Bianchi? What's his connection to the Process Church?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I interviewed a guy 2 weeks ago. He has an internet website called CAFDEF, CAVDEF. You can find it really easily if you type in CAFDEF serial killers. He has a whole, like we say, a Wikipedia of serial killers and the whole connections with organized crime. Real good information, and he has actually linked Kenneth Bianchi to the Process Church, so I have to look that up for myself first.
Yeah, we got to take a look at that. Now, when you do these interviews, do you record them?
Yeah, it is uploaded on my YouTube page.
On YouTube, okay, man, on YouTube.
It's like 2.5 hours of really astounding information. So
of audio interviews you do.
Yeah, audio interviews, yeah.
Okay, good. I got to go back and spend more time looking at your page, because the latest stuff you sent me, too, was excellent about the toy box and all that stuff. Stuff I've never seen before. Now, Carolyn Cricket Ballas, what's her story?
She was one of the alleged accomplices of Leonard Lake and Charles Ng at the Wilseyville property. And people have suggested under my YouTube videos that she was probably connected with the Process Church, and that was the reason that she was get off on all murder charges, and is living as a free woman still in California. So yeah, and I think she didn't even she did change her name. Yeah, she did change her name.
Well, even when people change their name, it's pretty easy to find them, because they still have the same Social Security number. And
I do know her second name, but I don't want to say it on air. Maybe it's inappropriate. So
okay, yeah, because then they can contact YouTube and get it taken down and stuff like that. So there's many people think the Process Church too was involved with the Atlanta child murders. Have you ever looked into that?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I think the Atlanta child murders were also connected with KKK and pedophile groups.
Right. Yeah, we had Cisco Streetlove come on the show many times. He's dead now, by the way, suicide, and had some great information on that. He knew all those characters down there that were involved in those the child pornography and pedophile groups as well, too. First-hand information. Oh, boy. And how about smiley face killers? You see a connection between the Process Church and the smiley face killers?
No, never investigated that. I only listened to a few podcasts at the smiley face killers with what's that guy's name?
William Ramsey?
Yeah, William Ramsey. Yeah, but I didn't do any independent research on my own. Only listening to podcasts. So.
Okay, but again, another fascinating situation there where a distinct pattern going on. These people being found in these bodies of water, and again, right under people's noses and covered up by the police, over and over.
Let's fast forward to another case. I found some really interesting information regarding the Fred and Rose West case in England. it has come out in news articles that the house of Fred and Rosemary West was actually used as a headquarter by a Czech and British human trafficking ring. So I think that that's really a revelation, that you have a house where 2 serial killers are living, and the same house is being used as a human trafficking ring.
Fred and Rosemary West, and what, they were from the UK?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is...
They had a house which they rent out rooms to lodgers, and they had many children, and the children were from Fred West, but also from African American people who were living in the streets and were acquaintances. So
that's interesting. You know, I had a caller call me up once with some information about Key West, Florida, where it was a bed and breakfast down there that had their own private airstrip too. By the way, that was some kind of a hub for child molestation, and they claimed too that Hunter S. Thompson used to go down there and visit. So, did you ever come across Thompson in any of your investigations?
No, not my own investigations, no.
Okay. And what do you have on Vacaville Prison?
Yeah, that's also Vacaville Prison. Charles Manson was being held there, Edmund Kemper, Herb Mullin, and Lawrence Bittaker. So you have 4 serial killers who are incarcerated at Vacaville, and Vacaville was also involved in MKUltra mind control experiments, which is all very documented. So you have 4 serial killers who are incarcerated over there, and perhaps there were some kind of experiments being applied on them, and then they were released and later sent back to Vacaville.
Yeah, right, yeah. And also, too, Donald DeFreeze from the Symbionese Liberation Army was in there, and there's extensive evidence that Patty Hearst was part of an education program to teach prisoners how to read, and was dating him, had a relationship before she was kidnapped. There's extensive information on that. Again, another guy in Vacaville.
Interesting. Yeah, you have also an interview with Edmund Kemper, like 1.5 hours, 90 minutes of interviewing him. And he made statements that when he was at Vacaville, he also learned techniques about behavior modification. So I think that's also really interesting that he had whole techniques learned that is also corresponded with the mind control thing. So,
who is Edmund Kemper? I've never heard the name before.
He was from Santa Cruz. He killed 6-7 co-eds. He was a co-ed killer. He was like 6'4", 6'5", weighing over 300 pounds.
Wow. Yeah, we just
giant.
I was just up visiting Santa Cruz just recently. We're looking at the colleges up there with my daughter. They didn't mention Edmund Kemper while we're up there, though. By the way, it's not a cheap town to live in either, so I don't know how this guy was affording to live up there. And then you have this stuff about the Collector and Exorcist 3. What's going on with that?
You have serial killers Bob Adela from Kansas City and Leonard Lake from Calaveras County, California. And they were both heavily influenced by The Collector by author John Fowles. So that's also pretty interesting that you have a book here about, I think the book is about kidnapping a girl and hold her like a butterfly. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole storyline.
It wasn't... Silence of the Lambs was based on that too as well, right?
Well, I don't know for sure.
Okay.
No, don't know for sure.
All right, The Collector, we got to check that out. And then The Exorcist 3, too, which I've never seen before. I tried to watch part of it today when I was preparing for this show. That also has a lot of stuff about serial killers in it, about a guy named the Gemini, which is similar to the Zodiac.
Yeah, I saw The Exorcist one time at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, and I was done with the movie at 5 a.m., and I was really spooked out. It was a really weird movie, so really disturbing. So, and the movie was written and directed by William Peter Blatty, and he was a former psychological warfare agent. So probably there's some kind of predictive programming in that movie, because Jeffrey Dahmer and Danny Rawling, the alleged Gainesville Ripper, were both heavily influenced by that movie. So probably it had some kind of programming in it.
So do you think the movies are created in order to encourage this kind of activity?
I don't think creating, but I think encouraging. I think there had slipped in some kind of subliminal imagery, and some people who are sensitive to that material, or perhaps there were some kind of mind control experiments conducted on them before they saw that movie, they're more sensitive to that material, I think.
Right. And then Jeffrey Dahmer also owned the book Free to Kill and all that. What do you have there?
Yeah, that's also pretty weird. He had a book called Free to Kill. That's the story about Larry Eiler, the highway killer. He killed hustlers and driftlers with accomplices in bizarre rituals along the highway. And the Eiler group was also associated with Herb Baumeister, the founder of the Save-A-Lot stores from Fox Hollow Farm. So that's also pretty interesting.
Really? Okay, that's fascinating. And it's interesting, too, that they just supposedly arrested the guy that was involved with they're saying he's responsible for the Arliss Perry murders, you know, and possibly some other serial killings up in the Stanford area. But have you been following that story?
I only listened to a few podcasts, but I really have to do... I think I only read one chapter in Ultimate Evil. It's about Arliss Perry, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah, well, there's no doubt that Berkowitz was aware of the Arliss Perry, and she was followed from North Dakota, where the cars went to live, over there to Stanford. You know, give me a break. You know, it's like, what more do you want? And the guy who they arrested for this too, he had the Ultimate Evil book in his home. Yeah, I know.
Okay. I have a very good leap because there's another case which I got a new information. Paul Bernard and Carla Molka in Canada. Okay. And you never guess which book they had in their possession. The Ultimate Evil by Mari Terry.
Very interesting. And they had a bunch of videos too, a bunch of weird videos as well, right?
No, can't recall. Yeah, they had weird videos because they're videotaped their sexual exploits, but I don't remember any weird videos. Fiction movie.
Didn't it was something like that?
No, that's Dahmer. No.
Oh, that was Dahmer. Okay, so Ultimate Evil, Ritual Abuse, Small Sacrifices, and The Confessions of Henry Lee Lucas, the I-5 Killer. They had all those books, Paul Bernardo, right?
Yeah, and especially the book Ritual Abuse. It's a very rare book. Canadian publisher. I found it on Amazon. And I read some chapters in it and saw a few pictures, and it's a really disturbing book about recovered sexual abuse and like really weird ritual abuse with children. So I think why does Carla Molka has that, and why is he so interesting in that stuff? Maybe because she was sexually abused by herself.
Right. And it's interesting, too, because a lot of times, especially women that are sexually abused as children, will gravitate toward veterinary clinics and animal rescue places and stuff like that. And she worked at a veterinary. Yeah, I've one, it's a little bit speculation, of course, with one murder, Kristen French. I was kind of guessing what the possible motive behind that was. And what I do find out is that Kristen French was... almost like a professional level ice skating girl. She was done a lot of ice skating, and Carla Molka in her younger years was also ice skating, but due to foot blessure, she had problems with her foot, so she couldn't continue ice skating anymore. I think that's possibly a sort of motive. So she had some kind of envy against Kristen French. Perhaps. Right, and you're saying that she was held for 15 days in that house, and that her grandfather was a Freemason?
Yeah, her grandfather was a Freemason. Now, as we know, Paul Bernardo was a Freemason, and probably her father was also a Freemason, or her mother, because, Freemasonry goes generations after generations. I think,
right.
It goes a long way.
And that also, too, that the rape in Hawaii, you believe that they were involved in a rape in Hawaii on a honeymoon?
A few more things about Kristen French.
Okay.
There were also serious indications that Kristen French's abduction was planned rather than being spontaneous. Because if people have seen the abduction of Kristen French on YouTube, you can really acknowledge that police investigators had the strong hunch that he was being stalked instead of being randomly chosen. So I think that's also very interesting that... perhaps Paul Bernard and Carla Molka were stalking her before they were abducting her. And Bernardo and Molka both confessed to the fact that Carla was picking up Christian French. Carla picked Christian French out, not Paul Bernardo. So I think I do think Christian French knew some kind of Christian French vaguely. And there are also some rumors that Christian French did some schoolwork at the veterinary clinic that Carla worked. So that's also pretty interesting.
And it's interesting. A lot of these cases, like they're stalking their victims in advance, and like we said, if there's larger groups involved, you can have another member of the group do the stalking, and then just return information and reports and stuff back to the people who later on carry out the murders, which would be easier to pull off. Oh boy. Okay, before we get to the next, I guess the next case is another Montreal case, right? Let's take a commercial break. And we'll be right back with more of Patrick from Europe. His YouTube channel is called Program to Kill, a Satanic Cover-Up, and you can find it. It's LOL Field and Love on YouTube. We'll be right back after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors. Check out 71. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here with Patrick from Europe. His website is Program to Kill on YouTube. Program to Kill, a Satanic Cover-Up. LOL Field and Love on YouTube. So what do you got there in Montreal? James Medley?
Yeah, could you please read that out loud, Ed?
Sure. In Montreal, James Medley, 38, Christina Sherry, and Tracy Gonzalez, both teens, were arrested Friday after what Montreal police describe as one of the worst cases of sexual torture they have seen. Authorities seized weapons, handcuffs, chains, and other undisclosed devices used on the girls. Videotapes were also seized. So far, 3 girls between the ages of 15 and 16 have been found. They were sexually tortured at knife point. The victims were lured by telephone calls made to youth centers. The suspects so far face 28 charges on forcible confinement, on sexual assault, on assault with a weapon, and uttering death threats, on procuring persons for prostitution, and possession of crack cocaine. Some of the charges date back to 1991.
I think that's really interesting, and there are a lot of parallels between this case and the case of Bernardo and Homolka. Let me start. Well, number one, there were videotapes seized, as was with the Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka case. The victims were between 15 and 16, as with Paul Bernardo. The victims were sexually tortured at knife point, as with Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka. They were uttering death threats that were also being observed on the videotapes of Bernardo and Homolka. There was also possession of crack cocaine, and also there were allegations that Bernardo was using cocaine at the last 3 years of his life when he was in freedom. So that's also pretty interesting. There are also many rumors that they were actually freebasing cocaine at the basement of the Homolka household when Tammy Homolka died. And that was the reason why she had that huge red mark on her face. And that's really interesting. The first thing Bernardo said when he was being interrogated regarding the death of Tammy Homolka by investigators, he said, "There are absolutely no drugs involved." That was the first thing he said. So I think that's pretty suspected. And just like what you read just now, some of the charges date back to 1991, and that was the exact same timeline that Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka were active. So all these strange things. And you have also that James Medley and Paul Bernardo had ties to Masonic police organizations, and at least Medley was a confirmed police informant. And there are many people who are alluding to the fact that Paul Bernardo was also a police informant due to his cigarette smuggling and his Freemasonic connections. Yeah.
And the music that Paul Bernardo used to make, was that rap music?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, well, not to be a stereotype, but this other guy, Medley's a black guy, and rap music back in the 80s was mostly, didn't cross over that much. It was unusual to have a lot of white people. In fact, when a white guy was singing rap, they'd call him the white rapper. So, it's... What was that?
Vanilla Ice, yeah.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice, right, yeah, right. It was a big deal to have a white guy involved in rap. So that's kind of interesting. Minor connection. Now, what about these pictures, though, of these two women with these odd hand gestures in the prison?
Yeah, for the people who are intrigued by these revelations and parallels between the Medley and Bernardo case, you have to look up Carla Homolka and Christina Sherry on Google, and you can find pictures of them at Club Vet, a women's prison, and it was actually stated that they were actually close friends over there, and they also had some kind of weird hand signals, or it appears to look like that. So many people are suggesting that they maybe knew each other before they went to prison with each other. So it's really, they're also, what can you make of it?
It's really odd, too, that they're in a prison and they're wearing these sleeveless black or dark-colored dresses. They don't have prison outfits like this over here in the States. Even the women, they put you in a jumpsuit, long-sleeve jumpsuit. And they do alter these outfits to try and, look a little bit more attractive. But they actually, in prison in Canada, they have women wear dresses?
Yeah, apparently, I think author Stephen Williams, in his book Carla Packed with the Devil, Carla made statements to him that being there in prison was like a vacation over there. So I don't know what kind of punishment they require there.
Yeah, they both have their hair done in this picture too as well. Her hair is curled and they have makeup on.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so that's anything else? Because we can go on forever, and we've done a couple hours on Homolka and Bernardo, which is an obvious operation going on over there. Anything else you want to share with us that's new on that?
No, not on the Bernardo Homolka. Let's go to what do you know about the Long Island murders in New York?
I was one of the women who was a prostitute who claimed she was a potential victim. I was chatting with her back and forth, trying to get her to do an interview, and she kept backing out. She won't do it. That's my only knowledge of this. I really know nothing about it. What can you teach me?
Well, there were between 10 and 60 victims between 1996 and 2013. A lot of them were, as you said, in prostitution, and also a lot of them made offers on Craigslist, and that was the way how they were procured. But yeah, there are a lot of theories that actually prominent Suffolk County businessmen who actually committed suicide on the anniversary of the bodies. So yeah, probably was suicided by the cult or a group of people. And yeah, there are also all other people who say a satanic cult was involved or it was the work of a satanic cult. I don't believe that necessarily. I do think they were made snuff movies of the prostitutes which were killed. And I do think it's far more likely that there were people who were involved in politics in Suffolk and also police complicity, because there was at least one policeman arrested and tried for complicity in these murders or other allegations of that kind. So I do think there were some kind of weird out-of-hand sex parties, and they just had to cover up their dalliances.
You know, that's interesting that he found his victims on Craigslist. I'm doing a show about the Miranda Barber. I'm doing it Monday, who was a girl from Alaska who claims she did 40-50 murders, part of a satanic cult. She grew up in a satanic cult. So we're doing that on Monday. There's a lot of other cases on Craigslist. I had a whole case, too, I did when I was a private investigator, where this couple got roommates, and then they got friends on Craigslist, and the guy did a murder right in front of these strangers. He just met on Craigslist, and they helped him dispose of the body. I wonder if it's possible that these cults, too, as well, just like the underground pornography and child prostitution, they have these code words on Craigslist. If these cults also have that kind of stuff going on Craigslist, where they can communicate with each other and contact each other.
Yeah, perhaps the same thing as with Pizzagate when they were communicating on Instagram. Yeah.
Right. With all their odd communications there as well. Okay, let's see. And no, wait. By the way, too, now this Long Island thing, was this on the Hamptons, or was this Long Island?
On Long Island, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Okay, because Hamptons. What's his name? Had a house over there. Roy Radin had a big mansion out in the Hamptons, which is part of Long Island. Okay, Golden State. Go ahead.
Excuse me, yeah. I do remember that one of the victims' mother was heavily into witchcraft, and she was actually killed by her own daughter. So that's also pretty interesting. That one of the victims, her mother, was into witchcraft, and she was killed by another daughter of her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See that? Yeah, see, there's always something. The Golden State Killer, what do you have there?
The Golden State Killer, also known as the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker, and the Visalia Ransacker. And now the media is portraying Joseph James D'Angelo as the one perpetrator who allegedly murdered 13 people, committed 15 plus rapes, 120 burglarized homes between 1974 and 1986. Yeah, I think we all believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you sent me a timeline with this guy. Supposedly this guy was doing like a murder every week or a burglary every week.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, and so this guy, what was his name again? Joseph D'Angelo.
James D'Angelo, yeah.
Now, and he was an ex-cop.
Yep, correct.
Okay, so describe the series of crimes that this guy was involved in.
It was actually a lot of home ransacking, raping of the women. The male was asked to lie down on his belly on the bed, and he would go to the kitchen and would come back with some cups and things that you have to put on the table. And he put it on the back of the victim, and he said, if I heard something, a cup falling, I will kill your wife. So that was the thing. That was how he worked. But there are a lot of instances and...
I think what flavor of these new Dunkin' coconut refreshers you get says a lot about you.
Really? What's it say about me?
Well, you got the refreshing golden peach because you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
Oh, what about me?
The bold purple pomegranate means you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
I take it I got this delicious pink strawberry because I'm vibrant, fun, and positive.
Yeah, it's a simple system, really.
Share the shine. Enjoy a medium Dunkin' coconut refresher for $3. Order ahead plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Excludes classic Dunkin' refreshers.
I think what flavor of these new Dunkin' coconut refreshers you get says a lot about you.
Really? What's it say about me?
Well, you got the refreshing golden peach because you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
Oh, what about me?
The bold purple pomegranate means you're vibrant, fun, and positive.
I take it I got this delicious pink strawberry because I'm vibrant, fun, and positive.
Yeah, it's a simple system, really.
Share the shine. Enjoy a medium Dunkin' coconut refresher for $3. Order ahead plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Excludes classic Dunkin' refreshers.
Allegations that there were at least accomplices involved in those crimes, because many of the victims described being violated by different sizes of penises. That he was communicating verbally out loud with other people. That when he was assaulting one of the women, there was actually knocking on doors and rummaging in the garage where the car was. So yeah, a lot of instances that perhaps there were accomplices. And I think even the retired detective Paul Holes acknowledged that fact. That indeed, at the early stages, Joseph D'Angelo had probably some help. But my own theory is that D'Angelo wasn't guilty of the murders, or wasn't involved in any of the murders. I think all the murders had alternative motives, but I do think he was responsible for the Visalia ransacker. He was the Visalia ransacker, I think. I think his main goal was more burglarizing with his brother, possibly.
Now, this is interesting because when you see pictures of this guy now in court, he has like that expression on his face with he's breathing through his mouth, his mouth hanging open, his jaw dropped down, like a slack jaw they call it, and he doesn't seem like such a bright guy. And when you look at the sketches of the perpetrators from 30 years ago, it's a handsome young guy, you know what I mean? So it doesn't. Even the sketches don't seem to, and there's sketches of various sketches to different people that don't even all look alike either.
Yeah, correct. I think the composite sketches are almost like the sketches in the Son of Sam case, all different perpetrators, so
right.
Really outrageous.
Right. And you're saying that he might have been involved in a drug ring as well?
No, not Joseph D'Angelo, but one of the victims, Katie and Brian, I don't know if I can say the last name correctly, McGorry. Brian was employed at the military base, Mater Air Force Base, and that Air Force Base was in that time involved in a 300 million drug smuggling operation. And there is some speculation that Brian was probably an informant for that ring, and that was the reason that they killed him. But I really urge your listeners to watch the Program to Kill Golden State Killer episode, and it really has some unique information which only suspects that there were alternative motives behind that whole series of crimes.